everyone, my name is Lynn and I'm here to welcome you to video number 3, searching with the advanced mode in PubMed using mesh. This is where I get the most excited because I think mesh is awesome, but I'll let you get to know mesh, make your own decisions. So mesh is an acronym. Mesh stands for Medical Subject Headings, and it's the controlled vocabulary of PubMed. So in my lecture part of this video, I'm going to talk about what I mean by a controlled vocabulary, help you understand where those mesh terms come from, and lastly, go step by step on how to use mesh. Afterwards, I'll give you the opportunity to look up mesh terms and create a mesh search using previous keywords that we came up about air pollution and blood pressure. So what is a controlled vocabulary? So before I talk about what a controlled vocabulary is, I want to talk first about what a keyword search is. Keyword search is the default pretty much on Google, on a web search, on most databases. And so let me show you how that works first. So if I were to put monkeys into Google, I get a bunch of stuff about monkeys, which is great. And I know Google has their secret algorithm. We don't know exactly what's happening, but it makes sense that it's pulling up every time that word actually occurs on a website. So when monkey is said on a website a bunch of times, that's when it usually makes it to the top of Google. So here I have Wikipedia, I have something about zoo animals, and if I scroll down, I also get a photo gallery of the band Arctic Monkeys. And this is kind of the weakness of a keyword search. I'm not searching for the concept of a monkey, I'm searching for the word of a monkey, when that word occurs. And so it'll be the same in a database like Web of Science or PubMed. When monkey occurs in the title or the abstract, that's when it'll come up in my results. If Google had a controlled vocabulary like mesh in PubMed, it would also allow me to search keyword, but also to search the concept. So the other way it's helpful specifically in medical science and in PubMed is that we use a lot of different terms for the same thing. And one example that comes to mind is something like brain cancer. We can say brain tumor, brain neoplasm, intracranial neoplasm, and we can also just pluralize all these words, or we could have the British spelling for these words. So rather than putting that burden on you, the searcher, to come up with all these synonyms to really find all the articles on your topic, you can use mesh because that allows you to search one concept for all these different synonyms. So it's a really powerful tool, and a little bit of work using mesh at the beginning can potentially save you a lot of time in making an effective search. So where do these mesh terms come from? It's magic. Well, no, it's mostly people. So there's an actual book of the medical subject headings. It's updated annually and added to and refined. And what's really powerful about mesh is that it's not an algorithm that's adding mesh terms to an article. An actual person reads every article that goes into Medline, and based on what the article is about, they add those subject headings. So I always like to say they're the biggest nerds in the world. Oh, but they're great. They make using PubMed. I just want to give them so many hearts and happy faces because they're really what make PubMed a much more searchable database. So how to use mesh? So the first thing you'll do is select the mesh database from PubMed. You'll search for the proper mesh term. Once you locate the proper mesh term, you'll add it to the search builder, and you'll repeat that step as needed if you want to add multiple concepts to your search. And then you'll click Apply PubMed. So here we are at PubMed. And if you don't remember how we got to the USC version of PubMed, I would encourage you to check out the first video where I go over that in more detail. But here I am in PubMed. I know I'm searching PubMed because that's what it says in this drop-down menu. To search mesh, I can just click down. And again, you get this nice alphabetical list. And now I can search mesh. Now, a way of approaching mesh is almost like you're approaching a foreign dictionary. You kind of want to say, like, how does mesh say this thing that I'm looking for? So if I go back to my AIDS and anti-HIV agents, I can search that in mesh. So if I type AIDS drugs, I get 6 results. So I'm getting 6 results because of the whole book of mesh, there's 6 terms that came up with the words AIDS drugs. Another thing that can happen is if I look up breastfeeding, I only get 1 result, and it takes me straight into the entry form. Mesh is also very sensitive. So if you spelled something wrong, like if I put beast instead of breast, oops, if I just put beast, because I spelled it wrong instead of breast, I'll get this sad message of there's no mesh term. So those are the three possibilities. So let's go back to AIDS drugs. Okay, so a way to find out which one I want from this list is just to really read these definitions. So the first one is agents used to treat AIDS and or stop the spread of HIV infection. That looks like my term right there. And that's how I can help decide. So what I want you to do now that I've showed you how to look up terms in MESH is I want to give you time to practice that on your own. All right, so here's some time for you to practice. So I've come up with 10 different concepts that I want you to look up in MESH and give the proper term for. So the first one is brain tumor. I may have given this one away earlier. The second is Tylenol. Third is nursing. Number 4, MRI. Number 5, medical school. Number 6, autism. Number 7, patient education. Number 8, physical therapy. Number 9, seeing eye dog. He's so cute. And number 10, your local medical librarian. Okay, so now let me give you the correct answers. Brain tumor in MESH is brain neoplasms. Tylenol is acetaminophen. Nursing is just that, nursing. MRI is magnetic resonance imaging. Now, MRI does work in this instance, but be careful in general with abbreviations because sometimes you'll get that unfortunate does not exist in MESH result. So sometimes typing it out will be more successful than using the abbreviation. Medical school is schools, comma, medical. Autism is autistic disorder. Patient education is going to be patient education as topic. And it's as topic because patient education is also a publication type in MESH. Physical therapy, you might have gotten different answers, but looking at the definitions, I thought physical therapy modalities was the best MESH term. Seeing eye dog does not have a MESH term. And medical librarian also does not have a MESH term. But the good news is that librarian is a MESH term, and it's kind of implied if you're searching PubMed that you kind of mean medical librarian when you say librarian. So if that helps you sleep at night, excellent. All right, so next I want to show you the anatomy of a MESH entry. So let's jump over to PubMed. So here I have what I looked up before, anti-HIV agents. So I get this definition, the year it was introduced. So like I said, MESH is constantly updated, and this was added in 1997. I then get a list of subheadings, and this list of subheadings varies from concept to concept. And the way to think about these is you can really use these subheadings to focus in your search. If you don't click anything, you're going to get everything under the sun about anti-HIV agents. But if you only want a certain concept attached to that, you could choose a subheading. So for example, if I only care about the history of anti-HIV agents, I could click history. Or if I wanted to talk about the pharmacology, I can click that. You can click as many of these as you want, and it'll add them to your search. If you're confused by what these terms mean, because I think PubMed uses language a little bit differently, there's a link right here for subheadings. If you click there, you'll then get definitions for each subheading. And this can be helpful. Okay, continuing down, I get a list of entry terms, and this can be helpful, especially when I was talking about the list of synonyms. Just think about all the work that MESH is doing for you. And lastly, I want to show you this hierarchy that's built into MESH. So everything has branches, and so if I wanted to broaden my concept, go more vague, I could go up the hierarchy. So instead of talking about anti-HIV agents, maybe I want to talk about all antiviral agents. Or maybe I want to talk about all chemicals and drugs. So you can imagine by going up this tree, I'm going to get so many more results than if I go down this tree. By going down the tree, I get much more specific. So instead of just talking about all anti-HIV agents, maybe I only want to talk about the HIV fusion inhibitors. And I can do that by clicking it, and it'll take me to the mesh entry for HIV fusion inhibitors. But I was pretty happy with my search, so let me show you how to take mesh terms and apply it to a search in PubMed. So once you read through and you feel confident this is the mesh term for me, you then go over here and click Add to Search Builder, and now it appears, anti-HIV agents. If I want to add another concept, such as breastfeeding, I'm searching mesh again, it takes me to the one I like, and you see how it's remembering what I put in my PubMed Search Builder. It's dynamic like that. So now I can add this using and. I can also drop down and change it to or not. But I like and for this search, so I'm going to add that to my search builder. And once I'm okay with what I see in my search builder, I think that's a good search, I can now click PubMed. So now it applied that search to PubMed, and I get 323 results. So that's a little bit less than my keyword search that I did in the second video, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. A way of seeing this is that I'm getting a more effective search. Instead of getting all the articles that maybe mention breastfeeding or anti-HIV agents, I'm now getting the articles that have been assigned because they talk about those and it captures the concept and the aboutness of my search. So let's go back to our practice mode. So if we have that keyword from our video 2, we can now take those and apply them to PubMed. So I had pollution or traffic or diesel and blood pressure or hypertension. You may have had different ones, but I want you to take a minute and look up those concepts in Mesh and add them to the search builder and search PubMed. Okay, so I wanted to give you an example of how I went about doing this. So the first thing I looked up was pollution. And I want to make sure I select mesh. All right, so I get 22 results, and so I want to start looking for the one that best captures what I'm talking about. So I get air pollution indoor, and that's not very descriptive of traffic pollution. So if I keep scrolling down, number 9 is air pollution, the presence of contaminants or pollutant substances in the air. This substance may include gases. So air pollution sounds like the right one for me. I can click on it, I can look at subheadings, I can add it to my search builder. I can look up traffic. So I get traffic accidents. That's not really what I mean by traffic. I do get motor vehicles though. That might be good for my search. Can add that with an or. And my third one was diesel. Okay, so I get gasoline, which refers to the flammable fuel, but looking down, I think the gases, fumes, and vapors in vehicle emissions is a much better description of the concept I'm looking for. So here we go. And that's how you can go about taking keywords and searching mesh to create a search. So sometimes I often get asked which search is best. And guess what? It really just depends on your search and your style as a researcher. At this point, I do encourage you to take time to try both search methods and see what you're most comfortable with. But as long as you're connecting to information that answers your question, you are searching correctly. So some people are using mesh by default. I tend to do that, but that doesn't mean I'm using mesh for every search. I often sometimes will use automatic term mapping depending on the situation that I'm in. So in this next video, I'll be talking about using filters and it is going to be a good time. Bye all.